If you're looking for the best armor in the game, it's definitely the cold resistant Palmetal armor, along with the fire resistant armor. But the downside is they don't unlock until level 50 and 48 for the fire resistant. But there is a way for you to get it early. By unlocking the schematics during exploration, we can craft this as early as level 42. To find these schematics, we're gonna have to go to the overworld dungeons. Now the location of these dungeons can be found at palworld.gg. Now they are on a timer and they are not all active at once, so you may need to fly around for a bit until you find one that is active. Once you have found one that is active, go ahead and proceed into the dungeon and finish off the boss. Once you have, you'll have a chance at the schematics. Here we found the heat resistant Palmetal armor. Now if you don't want to do dungeons, another way is by beating the overworld bosses that are located inside of caves. Now for this area, those two bosses are King Paka-Krist and Lilin Noct. Now because they are inside of caves, the treasure chest that they do guard is considered a dungeon chest, meaning it will have a chance of spawning those schematics. Now the downside to this method is that these chests do take a long time to respawn, but it does have the added benefit where you can just run in, grab the chest and leave without having to kill the boss as in the dungeon runs. Okay, now that you've gathered the schematics you want, next is crafting materials. Now we are needing a very important material called Palmetal, but since we're barely level 42, we do not have access to be able to gather this material or create it by our own means, so we're gonna need an alternative means. So while I was exploring around defeating the overworld bosses, I came across a very special boss, Astegon. Now the reason Astegon is special to us is because he drops Palmetal whenever he is defeated or captured. Here on the screen you'll see his exact location with the cave entrance. Okay, so now it's time to gather your team and go fight Astegon. Now if you need a little bit of help, I recommend unlocking the assault rifle early to make this a cakewalk. Once you defeat or capture him, he will drop one Palmetal ingot, and this is what we're going to use to be able to unlock and craft the armor early. Now there's another way to get Astegon, and that's through breeding. Here on the screen are just some simple combinations you can use in order to get Astegon. Make sure you get 2 of them, 1 of each gender. Now don't concern yourself too much with their substats at this point, since all we're really doing is we're going to breed a high number of Astegons, and we're going to essentially butcher them all in order to get Palmetal ingots out of them. Okay, so once you have your farm set up, I recommend you do it with two sets of parents, and then that way you can breed Astegons as fast as you can. You are going to need a lot of them. Depending on what rarity of the armor you found is going to determine how many ingots you're going to need.
2 hours later.
Now these eggs take a long time to hatch, and you're going to need a lot of them. So you can change these settings in order to improve these odds and to not waste your time as much. So go down into your world settings at the start of the game and change your items dropped multiplier to 3. That way you get 3 ingots per Astegon instead of 1, and change the time reduction of huge eggs to 0. That way they instantly hatch and you don't have to wait 2 hours per egg. Okay, now that your eggs are ready, this is the hardest part of this whole farm. You're gonna need to gather all of these Astegons, bring them into your party. Now for this, I recommend you build a sacrificial altar, give them a nice good pet, make sure it's sunset, right? And just, make sure you explain it's not him, but we do need some better armor. And just butcher that Astegon, right? Just in cold blood, butcher him for items. Now you're gonna repeat this over and over until we get enough Palmetal ingots to craft our armor. Now, this may be sad, but it is the reality of the world. We're just taking a page out of the Monster Hunter book and turning these Astegons into armor. Once you have enough blood-soaked Palmetal ingots, go ahead and teleport back to your base. Now it's time to craft. Now, I have personally found that whenever I brandish my weapon with my pals, they tend to craft a little bit faster. I don't know about your pals, but that's how my pals react. And with that, you have the end game Palmetal armor early. Now I chose to use the fire resistant Palmetal armor since it's the higher rarity. but with this new armor, now you're brave enough to even take on the legendary pals. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys in the next one.